Opposition.
Now, comrade, as Nigerians actually expect this Presidential Election Petitioner Tribunal's judgment, what are the key factors or legal arguments that you believe will play a crucial role in the outcome of the petition?
No, like I said, we have followed very closely. And in law, there are three key things in law. Facts of the case. The position of the law, which is determined by precedents.
Exactly.
And legal technicalities. And we have professionals in our team. And we have multiple professionals, so we make sure that we're not seeing it from a particular narrow perspective. We have multiple professionals. And we have other people like me who are not legal professionals in our team. So we're also able to see it from the ordinary man's perspective. On the issue of the forfeiture, the Senate leader, who was the key witness for Jagaban Tinubu, admitted that it was forfeiture. So it's not in dispute whether there's forfeiture. Now, what is the dispute? The dispute is, was it criminal or civil? Jagaban Tinubu's witness thinks it is civil. We think that that's extremely far-fetched, because the investigation report said the funds were proceeds of narcotics trafficking. Secondly, Jagaban Tinubu's witness said it was a case of money laundering. On the face of it, money laundering is criminal. So his conclusion that it was civil forfeiture is not agreeable to us as non-legal professionals, neither is agreeable to the opposition that went to court, neither is agreeable to the lawyers in our team. So that's just one. 25% is very clear, because according to former Attorney General of the Federation, Andoaka, it has been previously decided by the Supreme Court that candidates need 25% in Abuja. I also listened to a former INEC rec, who is a lawyer, who insisted before the election, so you can't call him biased, before the election, this is a former INEC resident electoral commissioner.
That's Mike Guinea.
That's Mike Guinea, who insisted that you need 25% in Abuja. That was before the election, so you can't accuse him of being partisan. Before the election, he insisted that you will need to become president, you need 25% in Abuja. So that is the interpretation unanimously the legal professionals in our team adopted. You need 25% in Abuja. So we don't think it is possible to confer 25% on Jagaban Tinubu. We think that the forfeiture is criminal in nature. And one of the lawyers in our team insists that the Supreme Court of Nigeria has a judgment that says forfeiture is criminal. So I haven't read that judgment. So if you take those two, if you go to the dual citizenship issue, there is a third citizenship and an alleged fourth now. Citizenship. U.S. citizenship. That is on the documentation that were obtained by Barrister Mike Enahoreba from the subpoena in the U.S., showing that the Bola Tinubu that was admitted to Chicago State University was an American citizen. So you are now talking about Guinean citizenship, you're talking about American citizenship, then there's allegation, I have not seen any evidence for that, of Guinea-Bissau citizenship. So we also think that dual citizenship is established because we heard the defense claim that the passport has expired. As I sit here, my passport has expired. So my citizenship has not expired. Everybody knows that if a passport expires, you just renew.
Okay.
So citizenship does not expire with passport. So that, to me, is a frivolous defense, not being a lawyer. So we think that all the major issues have been established. Dual citizenship has been established. Forfeiture is established. Lack of 25% is established. Perjury, people like me, who are followers of Chief Gani Fahimi, have long believed it was established because we had the privilege of following Gani when he accused Tinubu of these same offenses. And we had access to the evidence. But now, we now see that there's even a lot more evidence. Because Gani's evidence was, I went to GCI. Tinubu, you swore you went to GCI. I went to GCI. I spent 4 days in Ibadan. There is no record of you in GCI. That was Gani Fahimi's evidence. I left Lagos. I spent 4 days in GCI. You have no record in GCI. Name your classmate, name your teacher. Name your year of graduation. So that was Chief Gani Fahimi's evidence. And we believed him since then. And it's interesting that these cases are coming back. So that was the clear case of perjury. And you know, it wasn't determined on his merit. It was determined on the technicality of immunity. That he was a sitting governor and he had immunity. So we also think that the perjury is established. Because if you see his current form, then you will see that Chief Bode George was right. When Chief Bode George, I quote, say, he has never been to any school. That is, I'm quoting Chief Bode George. It's not my opinion. Chief Bode George said, he has never been to any school. Now, in his INEC form, primary school, he put nil. Secondary school, he put nil. University, he put Chicago State. And that is the one that is disputed. And the basis of the dispute of the Chicago State University is multiple. Age difference. Difference of issuance date of the certificate. Female gender against male, except if Jagaban Tinubu is transgender or a hermaphrodite. The documents show that the Bola Tinubu is a female. So, multiple grounds. So, it's not open to doubt. I think that in law, they say beyond all reasonable doubt. I think that all the disqualification criteria have been established beyond all reasonable doubt.
All right. You can actually be part of this program, and the number to call is on your screen as we speak. That's 0704 9941 413. I will take that again, 0704 9941 413. And remember, if you're calling from outside the shores of Nigeria, just add up +234 to the number. We're still with Comrade Martin Zonovo, the former presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party. He's here with us in the studio, and we're still looking at the judgment, I mean, the outcome, whatever it may be, of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Comrade Zonovo, let me ask again. Transparency and fairness are vital in any election dispute resolution. In your opinion, what steps should the tribunal take to ensure that the process, with regards to its judgment, is unbiased and just by the public?
Well, you have to know that those judges are very senior judges. They are very experienced judges. So ordinarily, they know this thing better than us. But like I said, in law, justice must be done and be seen to be done. So if the judgment will go otherwise, we will need to see the superior reasons why it will go otherwise. For example, if you take the forfeiture, will the judges say it was not proceeds of narcotics trafficking? If they say that, there must be a basis. Maybe they did their own investigation report. But the investigation report done by Kevin Moss is very clear. It was proceeds of narcotics trafficking. So, for us, and that's why I said, for us, as stakeholders in the Nigerian project, all the major disqualification criteria have been proved beyond any reasonable doubt. Because if there was doubt, the defense team, both on the side of the ruling party and on the side of Jagaba and Tinubu, had many senior advocates of Nigeria. They should have brought it up. But we see that the defenses they brought up were very weak. Now, if you take the letter they said came from Chicago State University, well, the first thing is to verify that that letter actually came from Chicago State University. The second thing is to look at the court subpoenaed certificate in possession of Barrister Mike Enahoreba, which was tendered at the tribunal, and the one submitted by Jagaba and Tinubu. Even the logo is different. Font is different. Grammar is different. Graduation dates, different. Number of signatories, different. So you cannot claim that one of them is not a forgery. And the one subpoenaed from court cannot be a forgery. If that one is a forgery, it means that Chicago State University forged. Then if you go further and check the work done by David Hundeyin and West Africa Weekly, you will see that they went ahead to trace the source of the forged INEC copy. They went further to trace the source of that INEC forgery. So it's clear. And that's what I'm saying, that from our perspective as observers and stakeholders, these have been proved beyond all reasonable doubt. And the implication, since Jagaba and Tinubu, in his form, admitted that he didn't go to primary school, admitted he didn't go to secondary school, and the certificate of Chicago State is forged, clearly forged. It means he didn't go to any school. And that means, and you know that Bode George has accused him of having not been to any school. Now, Chief Bode George. Now, if he hasn't been to any school, then he doesn't have the minimum academic qualification to run. That's the implication. And nobody's talking about that. You need a minimum of West African school certificate or the equivalent
to run for presidency.
Now, if by his own admission, he didn't go to primary school, he didn't go to secondary school, and the certificate of CSU is void, it means he didn't go to any school like Chief Bode George alleged. Bode George's own was an allegation. But it looks like it's valid now.
Well,
and if you say he has been to school, you let us know, because GCI has been checked out by Chief Gani Fahim.
It's becoming...
and if you ask me when I went to UI, I will tell you the years I was in UI. And if you ask me my classmates, I will name one or two.
Exactly.
In fact, we have a WhatsApp forum. so I can name one or two. I may not be able to name all my classmates, but I can name one or two. I can name my lecturers. I can name VC. So for us, these things have been established beyond any reasonable doubt. Because it's been open, and that's why the process of law is good. You hear both parties. You hear both parties. His defense team has not told us that he only forgot to submit a primary school. They haven't said that. They have not told us that he forgot to submit a secondary school. What they're saying is that the Chicago State University certificate is valid. And what we're saying is that David Hundeyin has done enough work to convince a reasonable person that the thing is not valid.
Now, one of the issues that been trending on the X, formerly Twitter, has been this same Chicago State University's records of academic records of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Chicago State University itself seems to be now on the run. First, there were allegations that they've deleted their 1979 graduation yearbook. They locked down their X, formerly Twitter handle, because of the raging Bola Tinubu certificate scandals, and they continue to throw dust and aspersions about the credibility of the university itself, and also places them on the national radar. One question that has bothered a lot of people is, what is the president hiding with regards to the Chicago State University academic records?
Well, I think what he's hiding is obvious, because the contradictions are already out there.
Yeah.
What do I mean? the Bola Tinubu that was admitted to Chicago State University from the Southwest College is a female. The defense team of either Jagaban Tinubu or the ruling party has not told us that he's a transgender. And we also don't think he's a transgender because every day on TV we see Sheyi. We see Sheyi Tinubu, so we also don't think he's a transgender. It is possible he adopted Sheyi and is a transgender, but they haven't said that. So we're not going to say that. Because if I say Mr. Gomez is a thief, then what you say is I'm not a thief. Then I'm required to show that you're a thief. Then I will say on Monday, 18th of July, Mr. Gomez stole a mobile phone at Sahara TV, and there were witnesses, and the phone was recovered from him. Then I bring the witnesses,
Exactly.
and then I bring the recovered phone. So this case now is that you submitted a fake certificate. And to me, that has been proved beyond any reasonable doubt because Barrister Mike Enahoreba has got Chicago court subpoenaed copy of the certificate. And that certificate is different from the one submitted to INEC. So prima facie, that's forgery. In addition, the Southwest College transcript of the Bola Tinubu that was admitted to Chicago State University shows that it is a female, and the female was born in 1952. Now, Jagaban Tinubu is claiming 1954. And you know, if you have lived in the US, I was trained in the US, you know that in the US, what they used to distinguish between John Smith and John Smith is date of birth. That's how they distinguish which John Smith are we talking about. It's their date of birth.
Yeah.
So, since the date of birth is different, then it is not Jagaban Tinubu that owns the certificate. It is a female Bola A. Tinubu. And we yet don't know what the A is about. And now, we are thinking that because of the relationship between Jagaban Tinubu and US Democrats, there may be a deliberate attempt by the American government to cover it up. Cover up this situation.
That's a serious indictment.
Well, because ordinarily, why is Chicago not forthcoming with information? That's the only thing you can see. Why did Chicago State University go to court and have issues with submitting information? Certificate is not a secret document, it's a public document. Oh yes, because convocation is done publicly. Graduation is not secret. That's why you have the yearbook.
Exactly.
When I graduated in UI, they had a list of all the people graduating in petroleum engineering department. My name was there. So it's the same thing. It's not a secret. You graduated. It's public information, and you are paraded in public when you graduate. You wear your gown and you parade in public. So what's the secret information? We're not asking for grades and transcript. That went too far. That went too far. But thank God that they went that far, because maybe we wouldn't have known it's a female. Because it was from the transcript that we saw that it's a female.
Now, Nigeria's democracy has faced challenges related to electoral credibility. How do you think the outcome of this petition could impact citizens' trust in the democratic process and institution?
Well, there is no doubt, because INEC has supplied sufficient evidence that the election was a sham, was a charade. That is known universally. Even BBC has done a story on River State, where INEC announced that the ruling party won the election, but the same INEC provided evidence on its IREV that Labour Party won in River State. So INEC has thoroughly discredited himself. And for Jagaban Tinubu to continue to tolerate Mahmoud Yakubu in that position after all this, it suggests to me as an individual conspiracy. Now, I think it should be clear to Jagaban Tinubu as a politician that he lost the election woefully. And I want you to challenge me on that. He lost his home state, Osun. He lost his state of residence, Lagos. He lost his street, Bodilon. He lost the spiritual capital of the North, Sokoto. He lost the political capital of the North, Kaduna. Where did he win? Then INEC provides evidence showing that the declared results are fraudulent. It's not my evidence, it's INEC evidence. Go to the IRF. BBC has done a report on Rivers. INEC itself provides evidence. The evidence is from INEC. So, now, if Tinubu had the moral profile of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, the first move he should have made was admit that there were problems with the election. That would have doused all this tension. But he's claiming that he won when he lost everywhere and he lost woefully. He didn't come second. What me? Let us look at the results. He didn't come second. Let me tell you, Tinubu has not committed any non-fail offense by taking office in a rigged election. Yar'Adua took office. He won in the courts. Jagaban Tinubu didn't conduct the election. So, if those his sycophantic followers had advised him properly, instead of this effrontery and lawless braggadocio, what they should have done is, okay, we didn't conduct the election. Huh? INEC conducted the election. We don't think it was excellent, but we have been declared. Let's work together. That was exactly what Yar'Adua did. Yar'Adua invited all the parties that participated in the election. That's why there was no this tenacity to pursue Yar'Adua. Because first he admitted the fact that the election that brought me to power was flawed. Then he said, we will take actions to improve it. Till today, we cite Owa's electoral panel report, electoral reform panel report. It was Yar'Adua that constituted it because he was a Democrat. I challenge Jagaban Tinubu to prove that he's a Democrat. His behavior suggests that he's not a Democrat.
All right.
If he's going to accept this charade, he loses an election, they swear him in, he's gladly claiming he won. When he lost in Bodilon Street, excuse me. This is very ridiculous.
Well, you can actually be part of the program, and the number to call is right there on the screen. It's 0704 9941413, 0704 9941413. If you call in from outside Nigeria, you please add +234, the country code. Comrade Onovo, if the tribunal rules in favor of the petitioners, how might this impact the overall political landscape of Nigeria, and what potential changes could be expected?
I think that if that happens, Nigeria would have taken a turn for the better. What do I mean? I'm a politician. I mean, you introduced me as a former presidential candidate. I'm a politician. It will caution all of us that this idea of let me get there first by whatever means, that's not profitable. Because it will establish that if you get there unlawfully, you will be removed. Yeah. It will establish it. Because right now, the argument on the other side is that presidential election has never been cancelled before.
Exactly.
Okay. It had never been cancelled until it was cancelled in Kenya, just a few years back. Before then, it had never been cancelled. And I can tell you that the Kenyan politicians, even if they want to rig, they will be very careful. Because they know that the president has been established. And that's what we need to do now. Because I can tell you here, and I place it on record, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. This is the path to a political crisis. This needs to be resolved. And the two of the parties have already put this even in their statement. Yes. First, the defense claimed that if the election is cancelled, there will be anarchy. There will be no anarchy. There will be no anarchy. The petition has claimed that if the rule of law is not followed, there will be anarchy. So, This is the path to a political crisis. And we don't need that, because right now we are in an economic emergency. A situation where NMPC, a limited liability company under Kama, is borrowing to support Naira. What it means is that there's no government.
Let me quickly
NMPC has taken over government.
Let me quickly take. We have a caller online. Let's quickly take this call. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes. Good morning. My name is,
We can barely. Can you hear him?
I can't say anything.
I'm calling from
Hello, caller.
I'm calling
I think we lost that. We cannot get the audio. Perhaps you can. You may need to call back. Let me just take some of the reactions we have from Facebook handle. We have Today Adegoke, who says it's impersonification, talking about the certificate. The real person na female. Today Adegoke goes on to say that why hiring lawyers to defend certificates? Why telling Chicago University not to release it? Definitely has something hidden. Chibozo says, I want to upgrade my qualifications. Who knows how much PhD certificate costs in Chicago State University? Anthony Ike, move on, says, those three candidates, Tinubu, Atiku, and Obi, doesn't have the capacity or integrity to rule Nigeria. These are some of the questions, responses we've been hearing online. You can actually join the conversations by actually sending us your messages on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page. You had some of these reactions.
Yes, the last comment, I'd like to address it because Chief Dr. Obasanjo has previously addressed it. He's a former president. He has said that all the candidates are known to him personally and that none of them is a saint. He was very clear about that. And I'm not going to stay here and claim that I'm a saint. If Mr. Gomez is a saint, that we will need to verify
that.
But I'm not going to claim that I'm a saint. But Chief Dr. Obasanjo said that if you look at them, one is better than the other. And what he said is that P2B is better than the others. And he said he knows each of them on a personal level. So I agree with Chief Dr. Obasanjo on that. I agree with him on almost all the major national issues. So that it doesn't look like that's the only thing I agree with him on. I agree with him on that. You're not going to find a saint. I'm not a saint. You're not going to find a perfect person. But if this is what the process, we must respect our own process. If this is what the process has produced, there were so many parties, and this is who the delegates chose for the parties. Well and good.
Now, conversely, if the tribunal pulls the election results, how might this influence the petitioner supporters and the opposition's perception of the political system?
Well, either way, the other party will go to the Supreme Court. That's a given. The matter does not end with the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. And that's one of the reasons why I think they should have been faster instead of waiting till the last date. I mean, this matter will definitely go to the Supreme Court. And what comes out of the Supreme Court will be final. But there are things that should never be done. Because every society is built on its values. I'm careful with my choice of words. If you want to say it's built on its laws, the laws derive from the values. So prior to law, you have values. The laws are written based on the values of the people.
Okay.
Now, we cannot say that narcotics trafficking is good. We cannot say that. We cannot say that forgery is good. We cannot say that. We cannot say that perjury is good. There are people in prison for forgery. So if we say it's good, we have to apologize to them, pay them compensation, and then release them. So there are things that we cannot say. We cannot say that disregard of the Constitution is good. There are constitutional requirements. To me, the advisors of the Jagaban should have let him know clearly from day one that this situation has no remedy. And the political solution would have worked. But a political solution that is based on impunity cannot work. No, nobody will accept it. Let me tell you, from 1860 to 1960, the British colonial government was here. That was 100 years. Did anybody accept it? Because it lasted 100 years. Nobody accepted it. You came from your village across the, what is the name of that sea? Is it Red Sea or Mediterranean Sea? You came from your village. You come to my village with a gun. Remove the traditional ruler. Put yourself, say your government, and bring your police to be arresting people who disagree with you. What is that? And then you say you're a colonial power. What's the meaning of that? It lasted from 1860 to 1960, but they left. That's a fact. Apartheid was backed by all the nuclear powers. But apartheid collapsed. I said it and I repeat myself. This interim placeholdership that we have in Nigeria today is not sustainable under any guise. And the earlier we address it politically, the better for Jagaban Tinubu, the better for Mr. Games, the better for me, the better for every Nigerian. Because if we allow it to further get complicated, then the cost of remedy becomes too high. It was the same thing when Governor Obaseki raised the alarm that the CBN was printing money recklessly. The entire attack dog media pounced on him that he's incompetent. He doesn't know what he was saying. He didn't know what he was saying. Now it's exposed. How long did it last? 2 years after, the man is proved right. They are admitting that they printed recklessly. So, what's my point? This situation we have is morally wrong, is legally wrong, is democratically wrong. Anybody with any common sense will know that it's not sustainable. The cost of maintaining this iniquity is too high.
Now, let me get your view on this, and for the avoidance of doubt and misperception of events. And in the event that the tribunal's decision leads to a call for electoral reforms, what specific aspects of the electoral process do you believe need urgent attention to enhance its integrity as well as its transparency?
Well, the first thing I want to reform, because the last Electoral Act was definitely an improvement over what we have had. And that is why you have this level of evidence. And if they had not subverted the evidence, as the court process has shown, that there was no glitch. And when I talked about the US, sorry, let me divert a little bit. Don't forget that the last US presidential election was determined by computer glitch. And the last Nigerian election was determined by computer glitch. And there's a relationship between both parties.
What an irony.
I don't think it's a coincidence. You may think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. Because I also monitored that election. And I saw when a clear leader surprisingly became a loser. And then they said it was a computer glitch. I was monitoring. I denied myself sleep to monitor. So, and the same thing happens here. I mean, if Mahmoud Yakubu, or whatever they call him, if he had any iota of self-dignity, after the BBC published what it published on Rivers, he wouldn't need anybody to be calling on me to resign. He will resign. Yeah. He will resign. Because, don't forget, he had multiple opportunities. Party agents complained. Observers asked you to seize and investigate. You ignored party agents. You ignored observers. How else do we prove intent? That is intent to commit a fraud. To me, as an individual, I'm not a court. And don't forget that an investigative journalist had published that they will not use the IREF. INEC said it was a lie prior to the election. It was published, and investigative journalists said that INEC had decided not to use the IREF for the election. Then INEC came back and said it's anybody saying that is a figment of his imagination. Then at the end of the day, as at today, from what we saw in court, 18,000 results are blood. At 500 per polling station, that is 9 million voters. 18,000 blood results. 9,000 are not published, don't exist. INEC doesn't have 9,000 results. That is a total of 27,000. That's 13 million votes. Then, the one you announced is fake. According to INEC. Because, I don't know, maybe Mr. Gomez owns IREV. But what is written there is INEC IREV. And INEC has been certifying results on the IREV. So, the IREV is the evidence that the results declared by Yakubu are fraudulent. And the case has gone international because for BBC to do a report on it, I mean, that's as international as it can get.
All right, let's take further comments from Facebook page. We have Nsikake. Tinubu should be honorable enough to accept that the election was a fraud by INEC on 200 million people. Can we as a developing country accept a ghost as our president? I mean, someone who doesn't have parents, sisters, or brothers, primary school teachers, or classmates, secondary school certificates, and so on. Totally a ghost. That's Nsikake Ekpo. Charles Zeno, if not tribalism, which people from North always think that they are more Nigerian than the other. We all know that Obi won the election and Tinubu and Atiku lost it. But the earlier we stop tribalism to save Nigeria, the better. Otherwise, tomorrow another dead man will wake up and tell us that it's a stone again, as if Nigeria are owned by a particular set of people. Core Melanit says delegates always end up voting criminals as flag bearers. My question is, who are the people who are saddled with the responsibility of selecting the delegates? Chu Connors said if judiciary refuse to do the right thing, they must be ready to receive more Uluwole certified lawyers. We will all become professionals by Uluwole certificate. That's quite funny. These are some of the comments that we are getting from our Facebook handle. Well, if the court, Charles Zeno said, if the court didn't do the right thing, I see anarchy and doom that no one will ever imagine where it's coming from. Chimozo Maxwell Okoro said, Nigerians don't have leaders as of today. What we have are looters. Somono Modesto says, Mahmoud Yakubu should be sacked. He's a certified rogue. Charles Zeno said, INEC chairman is one of the major problems Nigerians are facing today and should be in jail, while Tinubu should be arrested for forgery in all ramifications. These are some of the comments we're getting from our Facebook handle. Comrade Onovo, considering the role of the judiciary, which is quite crucial in upholding the rule of law, how can the tribunal's decision contribute to setting a precedent for future election-related cases and the strengthening of Nigeria's democratic institutions?
Nothing is new. The two key pillars of democracy are the rule of law and the integrity of the ballot. The integrity of the ballot has been violated. The rule of law is what the courts decide. If the courts make a decision that the people see as not in tandem with the rule of law, then the courts itself has nullified itself. What do I mean? There's a legal maxim that I think it says salus populi.
Suprema.
Yes.
That's it.
Suprema lex. The good of the people is the supreme law. So if the people own the judiciary, the people are the sovereign according to our constitution. The judiciary doesn't own the people. That's clear. It is the people that own the judiciary. And people can get rid of the judiciary. Yes. Oh yes. It's been done in many places. So, judiciary should realize that outside their accountability to God as Supreme Almighty Creator, they are accountable to us. And that's why in the US, they have a jury system where ordinary people judge the case and convict, including capital punishment. So, the people are not under the judiciary. The Nigerian people own the judiciary. The Nigerian people appointed the judges. Forget that it is a president or governor that signed your appointment. He is doing it on behalf of the Nigerian people. So, the judiciary should not, after the intimidation the judiciary suffered under the Buhari administration, Judiciary should not finally bury itself by negating the rule of law. And using their own standards in the judiciary, justice must be done and must be seen to be done. So if you're telling us that the certificate submitted is not forged, you will show us the evidence. So if you're telling us that the forfeiture is civil, we will show you the investigation report of Kevin Moss. Or you will tell us that it was church donation, so that we know that it is not a process of narcotics trafficking. But the investigation by Kevin Moss says process of narcotics trafficking. So, and that's why I say that the matter is clear even to the blind. And that if the judiciary does not affirm what is obviously true, then the judiciary would have convicted itself as a champion for impunity. And that means the judiciary has buried itself.
Now, public reactions and emotions can run high during the significant legal proceedings with regards to the PPET. And the question I'd like to ask you at this point in time is, what advice will you give to citizens and stakeholders to maintain a peaceful and respectful atmosphere regardless of
the first thing is everybody must reject violence. Everybody must reject violence. Violence has no benefit. Has no benefit. Let me tell you, if you kill a corrupt man, what have you achieved? But if you arrest a corrupt man and he returns some of the money, you have achieved a lot. Violence has absolutely no benefit. Nobody should consider violence. Violence should be ruled out. There are many other ways of getting justice. For example, a lot of people don't see that logic, but even though it's popular in the academia, Nigerian independence was principally achieved without violence. Look at the independence fathers. None of them used a militia. Look at South Africa. Mandela was imprisoned 26 years. They got tired of holding him. It's not 26 days. It was 26 years. And what they wanted was for him to recant. And he refused to recant. Okay, I stay here. And that's what I just said in the beginning. I said from 1860, when the colonial administration was established in Nigeria, to 1960 when it left, it was 100 years. If it lasted 100 years, why did it not last 1,000? It's not sustainable, my brother. It's not sustainable. What happened in South Africa? When the cost of the strikes by the South Africans became more than the cost of maintaining apartheid, even the supporting nuclear powers had to come to the table and say, okay, we'll give you this power, but you must agree not to scatter us. Then you negotiate something. That's the right thing to do. Violence does not benefit anybody, including the champion of violence.
Now, beyond the immediate case, what steps can Nigeria take to ensure that its democratic systems evolve positively, irrespective of the tribunal's verdict, to strengthen political participation and governance?
Well, I had tried to answer it when you talked about improving the electoral laws.
Exactly.
Let me emphasize that, in my personal opinion, this idea that if I go to court against presidential candidate Gomez, then I'm a busybody. I find that difficult. Maybe the extreme is also, or the other side is also difficult. Maybe. But if you want transparency, then things should be brought out to the open. Because that is what this Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has done for us. After David Hundeyin did his publications, it looked like a one-sided story. But now, the defense had the option and the opportunity to prove him wrong. And on all the major counts, David Hundeyin is standing clean that he did a thorough job. So that is the opportunity that a court environment and transparency brings to the table. So in proving it, I find it very difficult to say that I cannot, because I didn't participate in the particular election, I cannot sue a presidential candidate who wants to come and lead me. And that if I sue him, then you throw it out and call me a busybody. I was a presidential candidate. Anybody could have sued me. I wouldn't be bothered. If you have money to be wasting and suing me, okay. Well and good. But then I'll come there and defend myself. But to say that the only people who can sue, because that's why we got to this point. Maybe we could have stopped this earlier.
We're actually running out of time, and let me ask you this final questions. From an international perspective, how might the tribunal's proceedings and final judgments influence Nigeria's standing in the global community as a democratic nation?
Nigeria has no standing. Please, don't think that you have any standing. Last time in France, you were disgraced during the African summit. Right now, South Africa has shown leadership for Africa. They have more power. They have a better economy. They are showing better leadership. So we think that we can excel without excellence. It doesn't work like that. You reap what you sow. Now, we have publications all around the world calling a president-elect in direct terms drug dealer. Austrian publications, German publications, Canadian publications. And then when we are mistreated abroad, we say it's racism. Excuse me, I'm not saying there's no racism.
Comrade, let me just quickly take this call. Let's see. Oh, that caller dropped. We hope that you can reach out to us. The conversation, the number to call is 0704 9941413. We're actually rounding up the program as we speak. Your final thoughts on?
So that's very clear. All over the world, these things are known. I just referred you previously to how the BBC did a report on the reverse result versus the INEC result. So we cannot hide anything. The Chicago State University situation is known globally. This is the new age of information. It is very difficult to hide anything. And this is the way, if you saw the interview that David Hunde granted to Motes, you can see the host, who is a white person, asking, how did such a person get to become president? That was his questions. Because in any normal society, these things should have been checked.
Let's see if we could take this call. Hello. Hello, caller.
Good morning.
Hello, caller.
Hello, good morning.
We can hear you. We don't seem to be able to get, I guess, due to technical glitches. So, finally, your final thoughts, because our time is fast.
Well, we need to resolve this. And finally, if I can have 1 minute, you can see that because the foundation is wrong, and the Bible says, when the foundation is wrong, what can the righteous do? Because you had a false foundation of a fraudulent election, you have had the economic challenges increasing with this reckless, senseless, I challenge you, fuel subsidy removal. Senseless. Absolutely senseless. No benefit. Fuel subsidy removal. You have had the insecurity. You saw how 38 of our gallant military people were wasted in Niger State, and how our infrastructure, rescue helicopter was shut down. Now we need to go and buy another one. We are crashing our country. This is what we are doing. This psychopathy is crashing this country. We need to sit up and resolve this situation. Jagaban Tinubu needs to follow the path of honor and clear himself of all these issues. Because this Emiloko mentality and philosophy is extremely destructive. It is selfish, it's unpatriotic, it's unconstitutional, it's undemocratic. That you impose Emiloko. You impose your standards well and above morality, well and above the Constitution. That is something beyond dictatorship. We have to find another word for it. It is clearly beyond tyranny. You can't. You can't. What is the basis of a social order? It's agreement. The laws are what we agree. What is the basis of government? It's the social contract. It's an agreement between the people and the leadership. So if you pose an Emilokon philosophy, that is that's a form of idolatry. That's what it is. Emiloko. It's my turn. Is that what the Constitution says? Is that what morality says? Is that what democracy says? So that philosophy puts you above democracy, above the rule of law, above public morality. And it is not tenable.
This has been a very insightful analysis and perspective. Thank you so much, Comrade Martin Zonovo. That's the former presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party. Thank you so much for coming to on our program.
I'm glad to be here.
That's so much what we've taken for our breakfast show this morning, and we thank you for our viewers for actually reaching out, and we also appreciate your comments, and we hope to see you again next week.